Hey guys, welcome to the first ever Sports with Neil video cast. I'm here with Nate Hughart of Evil Cowtown Inc. He wrote us a nice little timeline of what's happening in Sacramento the day the sale was officially announced between Clarisse Hansen and the Maloofs, a sale that has been since been turned down. I'm sure you're feeling a lot better, Nate, from when you were writing that timeline for us over at Sports with Neil.
Much, to put it kindly.
Well, because I was feeling horrible too, because I titled that post a a timeline of the Kings' probable descent into Seattle. That was the title of that
And it looked
post.
like it. At the time, it certainly looked like it was very possible that that's what was going to happen because, if nothing else, I had a Kings fan tell me about, I think, 6 weeks before that. She asked me what I thought the probability of the team moving to Seattle was, and I said probably 70-30. And if for no other reason, then Hanson and Ballmer exist as an ownership group. If you don't have an ownership group, you don't have anyone to buy the team and keep it here. It was really that simple. So when the agreement came about in late January, we didn't know of an ownership group. Obviously, a lot's happened since then, but
Well,
without an ownership group, nothing ever gets done.
that was it for me too. That's why I
It's
did it.
really
It's
that.
like KJ's probably gonna get the deal done down there again. I mean, I've fallen a little bit off the KJ bandwagon because some of his comments about the Sonic situation up here in '08 just show.
Yeah, they were. He didn't say he didn't. They didn't show very well when he said some of those things. They just didn't really. They came across pretty badly when he said those things on radio.
I
I
realized he
just
didn't
wish he
mean
could have
it,
not said it at all.
but as a Sonics
Yeah,
fan, I took it personally. It's like I don't want to, but I did.
I don't blame him. Yeah, they didn't come off very well. I
So
don't blame people for being upset. I don't think they're as terrible as people make them out to be, but I can understand why people are upset.
I think people are just trying to find trying to justify their emotional reaction to it because that's what I've been trying to do ever since. I was like, what the was that? I mean, that was my initial
Yeah,
reaction when I heard that. I was like, hey, what are you doing? But I knew KJ
yeah.
was going to
He
get a
didn't
deal
seem like.
done. The ownership group was a question mark. Ranadive,
Well, I mean,
the Qualcomm brothers. That's a, you know, Mastrov. It's quite a bit of wealth
yeah,
sitting in this
and
bank.
that doesn't even include Merkel. And he was considered by some to be the real. He was like the real deal.
Yeah,
Like he was the real deal heavy breaker guy in the whole mix. But the truth be told was he was in there for the
development.
development of the surrounding land parcels. He was never really there for the team or the arena, like he was initially said to be. So we,
That's
we
fine. He still makes some money. The Kings are staying. So
I actually think it's better because I never really understood why he wanted to buy the NBA, why he wanted to buy the Kings anyway.
well, he did that in Pittsburgh too. He's not from Pittsburgh, but he bought the Penguins to develop the arena and the land around the arena to keep the team
Right.
there and to get money from it. So he's got a
But even
track
then,
record
he's
of
not
doing
the.
this.
But even then, he's not the majority stakeholder in the Penguins. He's,
No,
he's a relatively low majority stakeholder, and
but there's a
like you
lot of
said, he
evidence
didn't.
that he was the major equity behind it, the major cash move behind the Penguins purchase. From what I've seen, he was the
Yeah,
cash mover, is my understanding.
he was one of them. He
But
wasn't the only one.
he's
But
done this
yeah, he
before,
sits on the
so
board of governors. He sits on their board of governors in the NHL, though. Believe it or not,
whatever
for
floats his
whatever it's
boat.
worth.
He was there when he was at the White House too when the Penguins won the Stanley Cup. So,
Yep, he gets around,
but yeah, no, it was
to say
interesting
the
to see that.
least.
I'm glad to see the Monarchs are coming back.
Yeah,
When
I was excited to hear that. Actually, that was one of the interesting things I think that came out of this was the Monarchs coming back because when the Monarchs got folded, they weren't losing a whole lot of money, but the Blues had no. The Blues were losing so much money on the palm, and when you look at their financial empire and how it crumbled, it really comes back to that second tower they built on the Palms in 2006. If they don't build that second tower, they're still owning the Kings free and clear.
so
I mean, the Palms, they wouldn't even have to sell the Palms.
yeah, no,
I mean, they'd
and
still own the Palms. They'd still be fine.
but
But because they they had to build a second tower. It kind of put so much debt, and then it ended up crushing everything else. They ended up selling the beer distributorship in part to service the debt at the Palms. Whether they could have just let the Palms default or not, or find a way for someone else to take on that debt, I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. But selling that beer distributorship, you couldn't have. I'm sorry, but as big a diehard as NBA fan as I am, there's no way in hell I would ever hold on to an NBA team before I sold my beer distributorship.
Especially since their father set that distributorship up and ran it.
Well, not he. Yeah, I mean, he obtained the exclusive right to distribute Coors in the entire state of New Mexico, and he's had that. They had that from 1937 to 2009.
That's where their financial issues are. And that's
I
one of the
mean,
reasons this whole
it
King
gets
song,
stupider than that.
huh?
It doesn't get stupider than that, and I think that's one of the pro. I mean, that's again one of the many underlying issues of this deal.
It's one of the major financial issues that caused this whole situation, the financial grab that
Yep.
you saw with this $525 million valuation, $341 million actual bid. Now up to 409, right? Million actual
Who
bid,
knows? If
625
the NBA,
valuation.
if you took David Stern by his comments, they still did the $525 million valuation.
Well, that was his
So the
comments
340.
beforehand. During the press conference, he said 625.
Well, he said that what I saw was that he said that the 625 number was discussed, but they actually settled on the 525 number as being the actual number.
Right, because that extra 100 million could be just um, inflation caused by the sudden change in the tone from the Board of Governors. That's what I think the
Yeah.
board's seeing it as, because 525 million does have staying power for the rest of the league.
Yes, it does. The 625 not as much, but the 525 definitely does.
Well, the Mariners
And
were
I like I
670 in Seattle at their last valuation.
but it's an MLB team, and
Right.
MLB teams are generally worth more on the whole than NBA teams. I
Right,
mean,
but what
there's
I'm
about
saying
10 or
is his
12.
second evaluation puts the Kings in Sacramento at, you know,
Yep.
45 million less than the Mariners. That's not gonna fly. So
Eh,
that was
it
probably one of the bigger
depends. I
problems
mean,
going forward with the Board of Governors was that inflation in those ill-advised bids that we were talking about earlier.
yeah, no, I it's like I told you earlier, like I told my mother yesterday. I think of that extra bid as show money. It doesn't really mean much to the board of governors because it doesn't do anything for them. Whereas the arena deal in Sacramento can extend to other cities and extend to these other owners.
Because it's
It
primarily
can,
publicly funded.
right, and because subsidies go across state lines and they affect other cities and affect other markets, that's how it'll help. That's how the valuations have gone up over the years. It's the public subsidies and it's the big TV deals that they're getting both locally and nationally, and then now it's the international digital rights. I hope whoever's in the background is saying something really funny.
You mean this little Lego skull?
No, it's just like you keep looking behind you, and I keep imagining there's this person
Oh,
putting up funny signs and doing their Wiley Coyote
I keep hearing my
impersonation. And
neighbor's cat. So, anyway,
eh. But yeah, at any rate, so that was really I think the main issue with the 625 million was that it really wasn't something that the league could get maximum value out of. Whereas the 525 million valuation in Sacramento combined with public subsidy, boom,
that's gold mine. That
that
being said, the
that's a gold
620, the money Hanson's willing to throw around is going to help with the case for an expansion team, which when I was listening to David Stern's
yes,
comments,
yep,
made me think it's a
that
lot
it will.
closer than I thought it was. I mean, I thought
Yep,
it was a possibility from the beginning. We talked about it in January on Sacktown Royalty and on Twitter. We thought the league was using Hanson and Balmer to force the moves out, and then we were going to reward them with an expansion team down the road. And, I'm like, okay, that makes sense, but it kind of sounds like a pipe dream as well. And then Stern said, "There's expansion is not a possibility," and I'm like, we're getting an expansion team, aren't we? That
I never listen to David Stern. I never
me
listen to
either.
what he says really, because it's not the words that come out of his mouth. It's money talks and bullshit walks, quite literally. And the guy is a bullshitter.
But I mean, as soon as he said no expansion is imminent, I'm like, all right, we'll see you in 2014 Seattle
Okay,
Supersonics.
right, that was me how I take it. I didn't see his press conference. I was doing other things today, and I couldn't really watch it and parse it. I'm sure what I'd come away with was that uh, the recent news of the negotiations of the TV deal, the new national TV deal, the owners, if they know the next national TV deal is coming around and they won't lose money with the 31st team, and they're getting a big enough fee that for their share that they'll lose from a 31st team to make up for that.
Well, that
It,
and getting a larger market in Seattle is going to improve the revenue, the contracts going forward. Because
it
what
should.
The Monty show said was on Twitter was that it's renegotiable after every NBA season, and you got that sense when I was listening to the press conference on the way home from work today. He was like, "We're gonna talk." We had a general discussion about expansion today in the board of governors meeting, and
Yeah, that's a
we
good clue.
we had a
That's
general
a really
discussion.
good
Those are his
clue.
big words. We had a general discussion. Those are his exact words. After that, he also said, and we're gonna look at it after our renegotiation period comes up, and that's virtually upon us. Renegotiation period and virtually upon us came up multiple times between Silver and Stern in the press conference this afternoon during the hour I was listening to said
Yeah,
press conference. And that was a huge clue to me. It means they're A, thinking about expansion, and B, since they're renegotiating, they're going to try and they might try to renegotiate it with Seattle in the fold. And if they can do that going forward for the 2013-2014 season, in 2014-2015 season, up the money they're getting from their national contract, then we might see an expansion team probably by 14. But if they push it, maybe next season. I highly doubt next season because they have to
I
realign the
don't think next
league.
season. There's just too
14's
much they'd have to do.
right,
There's too
especially
much
with
they'd have to do from logistics standpoint. They'd have to create an expansion draft. They'd have to add another slot. They'd have to get an approval in the next 3 or 4 weeks, and they haven't even approved sale for the Kings yet. So I think
exactly
legally, I think from an antitrust standpoint, they can't legally grant an expansion team
until
until a
two.
sale has been approved for the Kings itself, and then that will just have no longer a legal claim to this idea that the league cost them money by denying them the right to sell the Hanson or Bomber. I think if the league can successfully sidestep that and then navigate the logistics, which aren't that hard, they've expanded enough during David Stern's tenure. They know how to do it.
Oh no,
They've done it a lot. Adam Silver was been in the league for let's see, 3 expansion teams. He knows how the deal works. This isn't going to be new territory for any of these guys.
no.
It's just a matter of can they get the owners to agree to the money, and they think it's a good enough idea. I think the biggest problem is you keep seeing it from Seattle media. There's a shelf life on the arena for Hanson.
There
There's a
is
shelf life on interest in Seattle. The MOU could go away by when the elections happen in August.
five
And if that
years.
happens,
MOU is
and
legally binding for 5 years.
yeah, but can a new mayor suddenly change the agreements?
I
And
don't think
can
so. It'd have to go through the whole approval process with Hanson and the city council again.
well, that'll help, but that'll help Hanson. But I still think that a new mayor can make it more difficult just to get an arena done
They
in terms
can.
of
My take is if we're not told we're getting an expansion team by 2014, this is it for the interest in Seattle. You're going to end up with another Charlotte. That's it for this recording. Thanks for watching, you guys. Bye.